shepherd. You are my shepherd, oh Lord. Adonai, Atarawi. The Lord is my shepherd. You are my shepherd, oh Lord. Beno Deshem Yad Bitzeni Al Mei Menuchot Yenachaleni. In pastures so green makes me to lie. By waters he leads me to rest there beside. Adonai, oh Atarawi, the Lord is my shepherd. You are my shepherd, oh Lord. Taroch lifnei shulchan neged tzorarei. Prepare a table for me in the presence of my enemy. Adonai, Atarawi, the Lord is my shepherd. You are my shepherd, oh Lord. Tov v'chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayai v'shavti. B'beit Adonai, b'beit Adonai, la'orech yamim. Goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life. Oh, I'll dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, all the days of my life. Adonai, Atarawi, the Lord is my shepherd. You are my shepherd, oh Lord. No shame, Yad Bitzeni, Al Mei Menuchot Yenachaleni. In pastures so green, he makes me to lie. By water he leads me to rest there beside. Adonai, Atarawi, the Lord is my shepherd. You are my shepherd, oh Lord. Adonai, Atarawi, the Lord is my shepherd. You are my shepherd, oh Lord. Lord, thank you for leading Israel, which is your flock, and the only flock that you have. And I ask, Lord God, that you would add to that flock, that you'd bring others to add to your flock, and that you would let us go out from the pen making lots of noise following you, and lead us into the pen making lots of noise following you. In the name of Yeshua, I ask that you restore your people Israel. Amen. Shabbat Shalom. This week we're in Va'yetzeh, which means and he went out. And it's the beginning of the story of Jacob going up to Padan Aram. And I'll show you on a map where that is in case you don't know. but it's directly north of Israel, but it's called the people of the East, which is strange, and I'll show you why that is. But it's the beginning of the story of Jacob producing the 12 tribes. And so he's going out. Where is he going out from? He's going out from Beersheba, where his family was. Why? Because his brother is going to kill him. And so he takes off. He starts moving north. He stops at Jerusalem, at the Hamakom, the place called Bethel. He names it Bethel. And he sees a ladder, a sulam, going up to heaven, angels of God going up and down on that ladder. And he sees a lot. He sees the kingdom. He sees the temple on that site right there. He sees the altar. He sees the prayers of the Jewish people going up 3 times a day. He sees a lot more than that too. He sees all kinds of things. And in the words of the sages, they tell all the different stories of all the different things that Jacob saw. So he didn't just see a ladder and look, there's things going up and down from God and to God. It's so much bigger than that. And so he leaves there and he goes up north. Now we've been doing since Noach, the second Torah portion of Bereshit, I've been focusing on the zera, the seed. So I'm not going to talk a lot about the seed this week, but this is the Torah portion which he's about to start producing that seed. So I'm not going to talk about seed much. But here's what I want to talk about. In the book of Genesis, which is the book of creation, the Torah completed the account of how the world was brought forth from nothingness and how everything was created, as well as an account of all the events which befell the patriarchs, who are a sort of creation to their seed. What in the world does that mean? In other words, God created all the stuff, all the universe, right? Mm-hmm. Abraham comes and creates his universe, which is the seed. Isaac, then Jacob, and then the 12 kids. So what he's saying is what I've been saying since Noach, that Genesis is, all it is a story of the continuation, the saga of the zera, the seed. And that's what it says here. By the way, I never saw this statement until this week, and it's a fantastic statement. Who are a sort of creation to their seed. Does that make sense? Yeah? All the events that happened to them were symbolic occurrences. It's not a history book. Indicating and foretelling all that was destined to come upon their seed. In other words, every single thing that's going to happen, that was going to happen, and is going to happen to Israel, the seed, the zera, it's in the book of Genesis. All of it. Every event that happened in the book of Genesis is a picture. It's an allegory, it's a metaphor of what's going to happen to their seed. Now look where it is. It's on the introduction to Genesis. Why would Ramban, Nachmanides, write this on the introduction to Exodus, instead of the introduction to Genesis?
Because he's explaining what you're supposed to have just read.
Exactly. He's saying, this is what you just read, and now it's going to go into... How does the book of Exodus start? 70 came out of the loins of Jacob, and they came down to Israel. That's how it starts. So it's the seed. It starts with the seed. So he's going back and he's saying, all right, every single thing you just read in Bereshit is pictures of what's going to happen to the seed in the future.
Look at it this way.
Look at it this way. Look at it through these lenses, right? Now, what we're going to look at is, it's a story and a picture that I just found last year. I never saw it, never heard it, never thought about it, and I just found it last year, but it's a foundational story. And I'll show you why it's foundational. It's about the good shepherd and the evil shepherd. Are you aware that there is one shepherd? Are you aware of that? First, that there's one shepherd. Give me the name of the one shepherd.
Roy.
No, that means shepherd. I'm talking about his name, like your name is Doug. His literal name. What's the name of the one shepherd? Do you know?
Yehovah.
Say it again.
Yehovah.
Yehovah. What else?
David?
That's it. David. David is he's named by name in the prophets as the one shepherd. Now, do you know the name of the one evil shepherd? Okay, we're going to find out.
I don't know.
No, it's not Satan. Okay, so here's where the story takes place. He starts in Beersheba, goes straight up north, all the way to Haran. And you'll see Aram Naharaim. Aram means, it's like Syria. Naharaim means between the rivers, or of the rivers. So the rivers, what are the rivers? The Euphrates and the Tigris. Here's the Euphrates. The Tigris goes north. And Haran, Padan Aram, is in between those two rivers. But these people that are in Haran, which is where Abraham was called, right?
Yeah.
He was in Haran. How did he get to Haran? His father Terah moved from Ur. Look where that is in relationship to Israel.
Way down.
Yeah.
No, directly east. Directly east.
Yeah, Israel.
So this is the people of the east, right? Well, a whole bunch of them made a journey. It's in Genesis chapter 10 when it's talking about Nimrod. And it says, those people went from Babylon and they went to the plains of Padan Aram, Syria, Assyria, Aram, and they built civilizations there. So all of this is called the people of the East. Babylon to Assyria. They call it just like in regular history, they call it the Fertile Crescent. Right? Because like that. That's the Fertile Crescent. But really, this is the people of the East, and that was where Jacob was going to, up to Haran. Jacob went out on his journey, Va'yetzeh Yaakov, and went out, Jacob, on his journey, and went to the land of the people of the East. Yes?
Yes.
The people of the East. But he's not east. He's directly north. So this is how that works. He looked and he saw a well in the field, and behold, 3 flocks of sheep were lying there beside it. The stone on the mouth of the well was large. When all the flocks were gathered there, they would roll the stone from the mouth of the well and water the sheep. Then they would put the stone back in its place on the mouth of the well. Jacob said to them, my brothers, where are you from? And they said, Haran. He said to them, do you know Lavan ben Nahor? And they said, we know him. And here's his daughter Rachel coming with the sheep. How many flocks are there?
3. But this is the 4th flock.
Right.
Because there was 3.
That's correct. There were 3 there while they were there at the well, and then they go, look, here comes Rachel, and she's got another flock. She got the flocks of her dad. Rachel coming with the sheep, so that makes 4 flocks, yes? He said, water the sheep. And they said, well, we can't until all the flocks are gathered. And then they, plural, roll the stone from the mouth of the well. Why does it say they? The rabbis say because it's a huge rock. And it takes more than one person to move it. But guess what happened? Jacob himself moved it. The mighty man. So Jacob moves that rock all by himself. It's probably bigger than this, but it's what I got. Well, you don't know. I looked up lots and lots of pictures of wells, ancient wells, and this is how it was set up. You had an elevated thing, but the water would come all the way up to the top of that. It's like a giant spigot, and then they'd put a rock on top of it, and as soon as they move that rock, the water would pour into the trough. But this is actually even with land on one side, so all I have to do is roll the rock over and then roll it back. I don't have that here, but this is how the ancient wells worked, at least the ones that watered the flocks. It's a very specific kind of well. So we have 3 flocks gathered there, and then here comes a 4th. While he was still speaking with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she was a shepherdess. When Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of his mother's brother Lavan, and the sheep of his mother's brother Lavan, Jacob went up and rolled the stone by himself from the mouth of the well, and watered the flock of his mother's brother Lavan. How did he do that by himself? He was jacked up on romance.
Get it?
He was jacked up on, listen, he's trying to show off for her. He's like, oh my God, is she beautiful? And so he's going to do feats of daring do, and he's jacked up on romance, and so he moves that rock by himself. He's all excited.
Power of testosterone.
That is correct. The power of testosterone. And rolled the stone from the mouth of the well and watered the flock of his mother's brother Lavan. What about the other flocks?
He didn't care about those.
That's exactly right. He didn't water the other ones. He only watered hers.
Yeah.
I'm sure he probably left the rock off so they could come after him. But he was after watering that flock. And Jacob kissed Rachel. They're not making out. It's just like the way Middle Easterns meet, and they kiss on the cheek. Jacob kissed Rachel, raised his voice, and wept. Jacob told Rachel that he was a relative of her father, and that he was Rivka's son, and she ran and told her father. Now, do you know how old Jacob was at this point? Anybody know?
40?
40? That's what I thought. I thought he was around 40. I just found out this morning he was 67.
What?
Yeah. When he made that journey, he was 67. That's what the calculations of the rabbis came up with. Wow. I haven't checked it yet. Ha'arba galut. All right. Now, here's why there's 4 flocks. It's not wrong. Unless you're going to correct the rabbis, and I'm going to put this on tape, unless you're going to correct the sages, I would do your homework before you say something like that. I haven't done my homework, so I'm not willing to say it. I'm just going to keep an open mind, and I'll do my own calculations. But from what we know, the rabbis say that he was 67 years old.
How old was Rachel?
I'm not sure how old she was. It's a good question. I don't know. All right, so let's leave that aside, and let's talk about this. And I'm going to focus on this for a while. Why are there 4 flocks? So, he's going to the people of the land of the east. The greatest empires who've ever ruled the planet were Babylon, which extended up here, and Assyria, which extended down here. And then what comes after Babylon? Medo-Persia, which is up here, which extended like that. And then comes Greece and Rome. But all the eastern ones, all the ones of the people of the east, the greatest first kingdoms on the planet, was here. And this is where he's going. He's going right into the heart of the greatest kingdoms on earth. And he sees 4 flocks of sheep. And remember, everything that happened to our forefathers, what was the purpose of it?
A picture of what's going to happen to the seed.
Yeah, what's going to happen in the future to the Jews, to the seed. So this is a picture of what's going to happen to the seed. It's that simple. It's called Ha'arba Galut, the 4 exile, singular, the 4 exiles. There's 3 flocks, Babylon, Medo-Persia, and Greece. And then she shows up with a 4th flock, the Roman exile, the final exile. And this is what the sages say, that these 4 flocks are a picture of Israel in these galut. They're trapped. They're trapped up here. They're trapped in Persia. They're trapped in Babylon. They're trapped in Assyria. Syria is Babylon. Same thing. And it's the Jewish people in these exiles. And by the way, it doesn't say exiles in The Talmud, you know what it says? Malchuyot. What does that mean?
Kingdom?
Kingdoms. So even though the Jews were never exiled into Greece, nor were they ever exiled into Rome, but into the Roman Empire, they weren't exiled by Assyria either. They weren't exiled into Persia. There was no Persian exile. In fact, Persia brought them back to Israel. So they weren't really 4 exiles. They were 4 kingdoms, and each one basically exiled the Jews. And that's basically the story of the exiles. Now, the one that we're in now, the final exile, is just called the Galut, the exile. What was the other major exile?
The Holocaust?
No, Babylon.
Babylon.
Babylon. When the Jews were kicked out of Israel, the temple was destroyed by Babylon, and the Jews were exiled, come on, to Babylon. They were exiled from here directly east. So my question is, how'd they get there? How did the Jews go from Jerusalem? Where's Jerusalem? It's right by Bethel. Jerusalem to Babylon. How did they get there?
They didn't go
Camels.
straight across, right? But they went all the way around.
Do you think they went way up and then way down, or do you think they went straight across?
Around.
So all of this nowadays is trash. There's just nothing there. It wasn't like that in the past. There were trade routes that went like this, and like this, and like this. There were all kinds of trade routes on the other side, like in Jordan, where Jordan is now, and Arabia. And Arabia was actually a very, very flourishing place. So they actually took this trade route that goes like this. And they went to Babylon because they were exiled by the Babylonians. In 586 BCE, I believe. All right. So now we're going to talk about the 4 exiles, or the 4 kingdoms, the Malchuyot. All right, Zechariah 4:1. This is the verse that the rabbis key in on when they're talking about the 4 kingdoms. And I returned and lifted my eyes and saw, and behold, 4 chariots were coming forth from between the 2 mountains. And the mountains were mountains of bronze, or copper, some translate it. Nechash, nechushta. What is nechushta? What does nachash mean?
Snake.
Serpent, or snake, right? It's also the word for bronze or copper. Well, there's 2 of them. There's 2 bronze or copper mountains, which is the word for snake or monster, okay? And through these 2, between these 2 mountains, comes 4 chariots. So Rashi says, mountains of bronze, a sign of the strength of these, what does it say?
4
Kingdoms.
It doesn't say anything about that in the verse, does it? 4 chariots were coming forth. Where does it say anything about kingdoms? Not a word.
It's implied.
It's not implied. The rabbis know it, because what they did was they looked up all the verses on, guess which word? Mountain, right. And mountains are a picture of kingdoms in the scriptures. And so all they did was key off of, there's 2 really, really strong mountains here. They're kingdoms, really strong kingdoms. And they're kingdoms of snakes, of Nechash, Nechushtan. A sign of strength of these kingdoms which came to them from between the 2 mountains, which are hard and strong, as these 4 chariots are messengers of the Holy One, blessed be He, to give ruling power to the 4 kingdoms of Babylon, Persia, Greece, and, he doesn't say Rome, Edom. So he comes right out and says that these 4 chariots are the four kingdoms. And God is giving them ruling power. Now, why do you think there's two mountains? What's your best guess? Why do you think there's two mountains? I'm going to go back to the map. Why do you think there's two why are they just coming from one mountain? Why are they coming from between two mountains? What's your best guess?
Two kingdoms.
Huh?
Two kingdoms.
Okay, but why is there two? He just said there's four kingdoms. But there's...
They join forces.
Okay, what else? What do you think? You're thinking it out at least. That's good. Maybe they joined forces. Interesting. No clue?
Because in the end they'll consolidate to two.
All right, so you're saying what she's saying, that the four will consolidate to two in the future. All right, you're getting pretty close. The first two kingdoms, what are they? Babylon and what?
Assyria?
No, Medo-Persia.
Could be Rome and Rome again.
Well, the first two are Babylon and Medo-Persia, right?
Oh, those are the ones in the east.
Look, yeah, those are the ones in the east. And then, what are the next two? Greece and Rome. Where are they? Way out west.
Ah.
So you got East Mountain, and you got way out here West Mountain. Rome is Greece. Greece and Rome, they're basically the same thing. That's why it's called Greco-Roman Empire. So that's why there's two mountains. You have the west and you have the east. And they are both producing these four evil kingdoms. Mountains of bronze, a sign of the strength of these kingdoms, which came to them from between mountains of strong material. So there's two of them, east and west. Now here's the four kingdoms, right? Babylon, Persia, then Greece. Greece is longer in its reign than Babylon or Medo-Persia. Mm-hmm. Isn't it? I didn't know that. And then comes Rome, long reign, or Edom. And then comes the kingdom, or the kingdom of Israel. The four exiles. Genesis 15:12 through 14. This is after he cut in half a cow, a goat, a lamb, and he didn't cut in half the birds. He just severed their wings the way the Torah says to in Leviticus. Now when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell on Avram. And behold, terror and great darkness fell on him. God said, know for certain that your seed will be strangers in a land that is not theirs, where they will be enslaved and oppressed for 400 years. Now, Nachmanides gives a really good comment on this. Look at the picture. He divides four animals, yes? A cow, a goat, a lamb, and birds. That's the four kingdoms. And he's going right between them. And also going between them, I don't know if you can see it real well. You see that torch? And also going between them, a smoking oven. And both of those pass through before he passes through. And this is all in a dream. And then he passes through those pieces. So his seed is inside of him, passing through between the cow, the goat, the lamb, and the birds. So these are basically the four kingdoms. And he's passing through them with God. So Nachmanides says, and behold, you got to pay attention to the words here, a dread and a great darkness fell upon him. Do you see four things there in those words? A dread and a great darkness fell on him. Do you see four different things that fell? That's what I saw. I saw two, but I didn't know the Hebrew. So Nachmanides says the rabbis in the Midrash have interpreted this fourfold expression. When I read that, I'm like, I only saw a twofold expression. To be an allusion to the servitude of the 4 exiles. For the prophet Avram found his soul overtaken by a dread, an ema, followed by darkness, choshecha, which in turn became great, gedola. And then it fell on him, nofelet alav. That's another phrase, nofelet alav, it fell on him. Thus the rabbis have said, a dread, this is Babylon. Darkness, this is Medo-Persia, that darkened the eyes of Israel with fasting and affliction. Great, this is the kingdom of Antiochus. And it goes on to say stuff about that they put horrible laws on them to keep them from doing Judaism. Fell upon him, this is Edom. Why is that Edom? Do you have a clue? Yeah, but why would that be Edom?
To fall upon something.
That's exactly what Jacob was afraid of. Remember? They wrestled in the womb, and then Esau, what did he want to do? Kill his brother because his brother stole the birthright and the blessing. And so he wants to fall on him and kill him. And so Jacob flees. Then he comes back and he wrestles with God. And then what happens? Esau comes to meet him with 400 men. And he's like, my brother's going to fall on me and kill me. So it's just the same pattern repeated over and over again, that Edom or Rome falls on Jacob, and so that's why he's nofelet, falls on him. All right, here's more about the 4 exiles. This one I really like. Look at the Hebrew. This is from Song of Solomon. Shuvi, Shuvi, Hashulamit, Shuvi, Shuvi, v'nechazeh bach. Shuvi, Shuvi, Hashulamit, Shuvi, Shuvi, hanechazeh bach. Which means, return, return, O Shulamit, return, return, and we will envision you. None of the Bibles translate it like that, not one. But that's what it says in Hebrew. So, we know what shuvi is, to return, or do teshuvah. How many times does it say shuvi? 4. So what is that? That's the Jewish people. Yeah, but why does it say shuvi?
They're returning from those 4 kingdoms.
Well, this is the whole purpose of the exiles, the whole purpose of the kingdoms raising up was to discipline Israel, right? To spank them. To discipline them to cause teshuvah. And so for each exile, God is calling to the Jews, shuv, do shuvi, return to me, return to me. Now, her name, Shulamit, or Salome, is like Solomon. What does Solomon mean? Peace, but it's not really peace. The word shalem doesn't really mean peace. Shalom means peace. Shalem does not mean peace. It means complete. Or like whole. Yes, complete or whole. You can't add to it. You can take away from it, but you can't add anything to it because it's already whole. I keep wanting to say perfect, but that's not it. That's a different word, tum. It's whole, it's complete. So this is what it's saying. This is how the rabbis interpret it. Wait, before I say that. It says, return, return, the Shulamit, return, return, v'nechazeh bach. The book of Revelation is Sefer Chazon, right? Chazon, vision, envision, a prophecy, a vision. That's this word. Nechazeh. Nechazeh is from the same root as chazon, which means to see a vision. So bach means in her. Return, return, O Shulamit. Return, return, and we will envision you. We will see you. We'll have a vision of you. So this word Shulamit, complete one, this is what the rabbis say. Here's the rest of the verse. What can you possibly envision the complete one? That's what it says in Hebrew. It's the rest of the verse. What can you envision the complete one as at the encirclement of the camps? I would read that verse and I'm like, what are you talking about? Because in English, I can't even remember what it says, but it makes no sense whatsoever. But the Hebrew does make a lot more sense. Think about this. Israel, the Shulamite, she's called Shulamite. Why? Because she's perfect, she's complete and whole. And it says, as at the encirclement of the camps. Now the rabbis, some of the sages, not all of them, but some of them argued that the camps were laid out in a circle. That it was a big, giant circle. Forgot the word. Like the entire, crap. And a big circle of the valley. It's a word for a weight. It starts with a K. And I can't remember what it is. Anyway, so it's a big, huge circle. Wherever they went, they basically, it's like God was dropping a giant circle and saying, that's my camp. That's my world, is that circle. And inside of there, that's where you'll find me. Outside the circle, you won't find me. But everybody makes the camps like a big square, or like Christians like to make it in the shape of a cross, which is totally wrong. But the rabbis argued that no, it was a circle. And each of the camps were like a spoke of a wheel. And so this was a galil, a circle. But there's another word which means a circle that's called the circle of the valley. And I can't remember what it is. And so she says, what can you possibly envision for me? I'm complete. I'm complete. I'm full. I'm whole. Just like as at the encirclement of the camps. In other words, it's Israel. The Shulamite is Israel. Now, I mean, to us it's obvious, but to most people they can't see that when they're reading Song of Solomon, that it's a love letter from God to Israel. And Israel is singing to God, and God is singing back to Israel, and they're saying their love for one another. Most people don't know that, but that's what Song of Solomon is in Judaism. And so, Rashi says, complete one in faith. That's Shulamite. That's how he translates Shulamite. The one who's complete in faith. Turn back, turn back. Turn back is mentioned 4 times in this verse, alluding to the 4 exiles. That is the 4 powers, Arba Melchiot, the 4 kingdoms that subjugated the Bnei Israel. Now he got this from a book called Soror Hamor, and then he expounded on it. Shuvi, 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 Shuvi. Each time one of the big kingdoms comes, God brings them to discipline Israel, and for the world to tell Israel, Shuvi, return to me. That's its whole purpose of the 4 exiles, or the 4 kingdoms. But I really like this idea that the camps were a circle. Kikar, that's the word. Kikar. It means a weight. It's like a whole lot of silver or gold, a kikar. But that's what the circle of the valley is called in Sodom and Gomorrah when it was all green. It's called Hakikar, the circle of the valley. So I really like this idea that the camp was circular. Now, still talking about the 4 exiles. Look at the picture in the bottom. This was done with AI. You can tell this was done with AI. But Christians did it, and then they put Rachel weeping for her children based on Matthew 2:17 through 18. Why? Because everybody who reads about Rachel weeping for her children, they think it's talking about Matthew chapter 2 when Herod kills all the babies. Why? Because Matthew quoted this verse that we're going to look at in Jeremiah 30. But nobody applies it to the day of the Lord. They all apply it to the time of Yeshua and Herod killing the babies, because he says this was to fulfill what Jeremiah the prophet said. Yeah, it fulfilled it, but a million other things fulfilled it too, like the Holocaust, the Inquisition, the Crusades, the pogroms in Russia and Poland and Ukraine, and many, many other times that the Jewish people were slaughtered. And Rachel weeps for the children. Why? As a picture of when it's really going to happen for real. That did not completely fulfill this prophecy, and I'll show you why I say that. So Jeremiah 30, we know this passage about the birth pangs. I have heard a sound of terror, of fear, and there's no shalom. Ask now and see if a male can give birth. Why do I see every man with his hands on his waist as a woman in childbirth? And why have all faces turned pale? Woe, for that day is great. That what is great? That day, the day of the Lord. There's none like it. It is the time of Jacob's tsar, or tzara. Jacob's distress, trouble, tribulation, and he will be saved from it. So it puts the birth pangs in the day of the Lord. Did I ever tell you about the what was that black guy who would go like this and he had big pants on and he'd go side? MC Hammer. Did I ever tell you about the MC Hammer pants? The biblical MC Hammer pants? Did I ever tell you about that?
Aren't they called harem pants or something?
I don't know. We called them birth pang pants. You know why?
No.
Israel called them birth pang pants, and I'll tell you why. This was actually before MC Hammer came out with that and had those kind of pants. Back in the late 80s, early 90s, a whole bunch of Jewish people in Israel, not Messianic Jews, they started reading all these verses because their rabbis were studying them. And they started reading all these verses about the birth pangs. And they keyed in on Jeremiah 30. Why do I see every man with his hands on his waist as a woman in childbirth? And so these Hasidic Jews started wearing like MC Hammer pants. Not in gold lame. Don't picture that. They were black and white. And they would wear these big pants, and they called them yeah, but in Hebrew, I can't remember how to say clothing. Big day, thank you. Big day chevle. Big day chevlim. Big day chevlim, which is clothing of the birth pangs. And they were like saying, bring Moshiach now, and wearing birth pang pants. And so this became a big thing for a while in Israel. And I think maybe that's where MC Hammer got it. Because right after this, MC Hammer showed up with the gold lame pants. So maybe not. But this became the verse about the birth pangs in Israel for a while. Also in Jeremiah 30, we have the birth pangs, we have the day of the Lord, and also in Jeremiah 30 is this passage about Rachel weeping for her children. This is what the Lord says. A voice is heard in Ramah, lamenting and weeping. Rachel is weeping for her children, and she refuses to be comforted for her children because they are no more. So when does this happen? In the birth pangs, not with Herod slaughtering babies. That was a picture of this happening in the birth pangs. The Lord says, restrain your voice from weeping and your eyes from tears, for your work will be rewarded, and they will return from the land of the enemy, the Roman exile. There is hope for your future, and your children will return to their own land. So here's the 7-day plan of God. Here's the death of Yeshua in the year 4000. Here's the birth pangs in the year 6000. So that puts the birth pangs, the day of the Lord, the return of the Jewish people, all at the same day, all at the same time. So this is about the day of the Lord. Now this is a piece done by an Israeli artist, and I know it's kind of hard to really see it. Did that work? Oh, it did work. And down on the bottom is a whole bunch of people walking by. And the tears of Rachel are white. And they stream down onto the people. Now, why did she do it like this? Because there are prophecies in the Talmud and in the Midrashim, that say that Israel, by the tens of thousands, will walk by Rachel's tomb, weeping, to fulfill this verse in Jeremiah 30. That Jewish people will, by the tens of thousands, go by Rachel's tomb and basically thank Rachel for bringing us back from the exile. Why? Because she cried her tears. So that's basically the doctrine, of Rachel. And what's so interesting is it is the only other verse in the Bible that talks about Rachel. I mean, she has the kids, the two kids. They leave from Jerusalem. They're leaving Hamakom. They're going down to Beersheba. She gets 5 miles outside of Jerusalem and she dies in childbirth. And then you never hear about her again, except Jeremiah 30. That's why this is important, because she's going to bring us back from the fourth exile. Why Rachel? Why Rachel going to bring us back? Why not Sarah? Because Rachel had 2 children. Who were they? Joseph and Benjamin. Joseph was the northern tribes, right? Joseph was the northern tribes, Ephraim and Manasseh. Joseph was the northern tribes of Israel. In fact, they're called Israel, the house of Israel. Well, who's the south? Judah. And where was the south? Jerusalem. Whose land is Jerusalem? Benjamin's land. So Benjamin, who, by the way, never did anything to persecute Joseph. He wasn't there. Right. He was young. He was very young when his brothers persecuted Joseph. So he was innocent. And he is the only other child of Rachel besides Joseph. And it's in his land that Jerusalem sits. All right, now, God is the shepherd. I used to hate Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down. I know, everybody loves this psalm. It's the most popular psalm there is.
I love it.
Everybody loves it. I think mostly women love it. But it is the most popular psalm. And I used to not like it at all. I like it now. Do you know I didn't like it? Because it was romanticized. As if anybody has the right to say, the Lord is my shepherd. What gives you the right to say the Lord is your shepherd unless you're part of his flock? Exactly. And I knew, even as a young man, I knew that Gentiles were not part of God's flock. They're not.
Cultural appropriation.
Yeah, very good. Cultural appropriation. Yeah, that's what we call it now. But back then it just made me angry. And it used to bother me so much. Everybody loves it. Isn't that in the Tanakh? Isn't that like in the Old Testament? Isn't that in the Jewish Bible? The Lord is my shepherd, being said by King David, the king of Israel. What gives you the right to say this? The Lord is my shepherd. So I started studying, and I started to try to figure out why this bothers me so much. And I'm going to show you what I found. And it's very, very, very simple. We're not even going to quote Psalm 23. Look at, this is just a very, very small sampling of the verses that talk about God as a shepherd and who his flock is. Psalm 77. You led your people like a flock by the hand of Moses and Aaron. Were Christians there? Were Gentiles there? No. Psalm 78. He led his own people like sheep. Were Christians there? Were Gentiles there? No.
Gentiles and
Well, that's the name.
Yes, but if Gentiles were there, they were part of Israel and part of that flock.
Yeah.
And this is what, I started to see, like, wait a minute. This whole thing has been flipped on its head. You Jews, you're allowed to come in and let the Lord be your shepherd. Instead of the other way around, he led his own people out like sheep, and he guided them in the wilderness like a flock. He led them to safety so they didn't fear, but the sea engulfed their enemies. Psalm 80, hero shepherd of Israel. Shepherd of who?
Israel.
Why doesn't it say shepherd of the world?
Because he ain't.
Because he's not. Who leads Yosef like a flock. Yosef is the northern tribes.
Yeah.
Jeremiah 50, verse 17. Excuse me. Israel is a scattered flock. Who's a scattered flock? Israel. Not Christians, not Gentiles, not the world. Only Israel. And so I started to see this, and it was like getting stronger and stronger in my mind. And I'm like, wait a minute. Maybe God is my shepherd. Maybe the Lord is my shepherd. The Lord is my shepherd. Adonai Roi. I won't be in need. He makes me lie down in green pastures. Why? Because I'm part of Israel. He leads me beside quiet waters. Why? Because I'm part of Israel. He restores my soul. He guides me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Why? Because I am part of Israel. Period. Now, that's the foundation of understanding this whole thing. Remember, there are 4 flocks. So who are the flocks? Israel. And every other verse that talks about flocks and shepherds and sheep and shepherdesses is all from this basis, that the flock is the Jews. God is the shepherd of Israel and of no one else. Now, Gentiles, Christians, if they come into the covenant and they have some understanding and comprehension in their mind that it's a Jewish world and a Jewish God and a Jewish construction of the world and of the camp and of the covenant, if they have some understanding of that, it's possible for them to get some benefits from the shepherd. But they have no right to quote Psalm 23 and apply it to themselves if they don't. If they don't see themselves in a Jewish flock of Israel.
Otherwise, it's just replacement theology.
Yeah, it's replacement theology. What do you call it? Cultural appropriation.
Same thing.
Now, because of this, now I'll come back to it. Song of Solomon 1:7 and 2:16 and 6:3. Tell me, you whom my soul loves. So if we're in the Song of Solomon, it's a love letter between who and who? God and Israel. Period. All the sages said this without exception. Period. There is nobody else that love is shown to. Tell me, you whom my soul loves. Where do you pasture your flock? So where's the answer to that? What's the answer to where do you pasture your flock?
Hamakom.
Oh, that's good. Hamakom. I was going to say in the camp of Israel. That's where God pastures his flock. Whoop. Didn't you come on, baby. Come on. Catch up.
You can do it.
You can do it. That's where the flock is. I mean, these are his flock, right? And they're all gathered around the water well, which is the Torah and the Holy Spirit, to drink the water. And God pulls the rock off, and whoosh, the water comes out to Israel, the Holy Spirit and the Torah, and waters his flock. This is the camp. This is the place where the sheep are watered. So the answer, where do you water your flock, is in the camp of Israel. Where do you have it lie down at noon? In the camp of Israel. For why should I be like one who veils herself beside the flock of your companions? No clue what that means. My beloved is mine, and I am his. He pastures his flock among it's translated lilies, but it's not really lilies. It's Shoshanim. Some translate it rose, some translate it lily. It would take you hours to figure out what this what this flower really is. But you know, it probably wouldn't take you hours because now we have AI. I would not go to AI to figure this out. I did it, and it takes you all the wrong places. But I did this study to figure out what the Shoshanim are, the lilies. It took me hours to do it. I know what it is, but that's a talk for another time. He pastures his flock among the Shoshanim. Now it says in Psalm 69, it says, for the conductor, for the Shoshanim. The song that you sing in Psalm 69 is for the Shoshanim. That means for Israel, who are like lilies among thorns, as it says in Song of Solomon. Okay? So again, he pastures his flock. Where do you pasture your flock? Where?
Israel.
In the camp of Israel. He pastures his flock among the Shoshanim. And what's the Shoshanim? The Jews. It didn't change again. The Jews, Israel. There's the camp. That's the Shoshanim. The lilies. Among thorns. Where are the thorns?
Yeah.
Around the camp. You, Israel, are like lilies surrounded by, among thorns. Well, not among. It's actually surrounded by.
Oh, okay.
Saviv lach. You are surrounded by thorns. So these are the lilies, and the thorns are outside, the Gentile nations. And that's where God pastures his flock. If you want God to be your shepherd, you got to come into that camp. There's no other way. You must come into the camp, the understanding of Israel. There's no other way. All right. Isaiah 40, behold, the Lord will come with might, with his arm ruling him. Behold, his compensation is with him. Compensation for whom? And his reward before him. For whom? Who's his reward for? Who's his compensation for? Like a shepherd, he'll tend his flock.
The flock.
For the flock, for Israel. That's who the payback is for. It's for Israel, to pay all of Israel's enemies back. In his arm he will gather the lambs and carry them in the fold of his robes. This is the Jewish people. He will also gently lead the nursing ones. This is Israel. It's not baby Christians that need to be treated with kid gloves.
Right.
It's Israel. We laugh, but this is what people say and think, and I know it because I've done the research on AI to find out what people believe. Ezekiel 34, 11 through 12. For the Lord God says, I myself will search for my sheep and look after them, as a shepherd cares for his flock on a day when he is among his scattered sheep, Israel. So I will care for my sheep, Israel, and rescue my sheep, Israel, from all the places where they were scattered. Where's all the places they were scattered? Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome. The 4 exiles. So this whole thing about that God will go seek his lost sheep, this has been turned into insanity in the church. And here's how it happened. It's insanity. We have, I'm just showing you the tip of the iceberg. We have hundreds of verses in the Tanakh that tell us straight up that the sheep are Israel. The flock is Israel. The flock are the Jews. The community and camp of Israel is his flock, and that's where he has them gathered. Hundreds of verses that say this. Like an arrow, like I taught you last week. History is like an arrow that's been shot. It cannot immediately turn and go in another direction. It can't. But what people have done is they've said, oh, now there's a new flock. Jesus came, Christ came and created a different flock, a new flock. All right? This is insanity. And so then they come to this verse and they go, oh, it's us. I was sent, Yeshua was sent only to the lost sheep of Israel. How do you take that after reading hundreds of verses about the flock being Israel, and then go, oh, it's me. It applies to all the lost of the world.
Arrogance.
So what they do is they then say this, well, wait a minute. That means I'm Israel. And us as a culture, as a group, we're really Israel. That's how God sees us. We're spiritual Israel. And now the damage is done. And now the whole thing has been flipped upside down to where the camp is no longer the Jewish camp. It's a Christian camp that Jews are invited into. But Yeshua said, I was sent only to the lost sheep of Israel. Why? Because that's what Ezekiel says. Ezekiel 34. The Lord says, I myself will search for my sheep. He's quoting this. On a day when he is among his scattered sheep. They're scattered. So what's he got to do? Go look for them. Got to go find them. And that's what Yeshua is quoting in Matthew 15:24. And by the way, this is only one verse he's quoting in Matthew 15:24. There's about 5 that say the same thing, that God will search for his scattered sheep. Jeremiah 10. Okay, now we're going to talk, we're going to make a little transition, and we're going to talk about what I asked you in the beginning. I said, if you had to give a name to the one good shepherd, what's his name? David, right? What about the one bad shepherd? Most people don't know there's one bad shepherd in the scriptures, but there is. So now we're going to talk about the fact that there are bad shepherds, and then we're going to see that they are a picture of the one bad shepherd to come. Jeremiah 10, for the shepherds have become stupid. The shepherds have become stupid. Shepherds, plural. Well, who's this talking about? Well, we know what the flock is. The flock is Israel.
Yes.
Okay, so who are the shepherds?
The leaders of Israel?
Right. The prophets, right? The prophets of Israel. The priests, the teaching priests of Israel. The rabbis, the sages before there were sages. All the wise of the chachamim of Israel. They have become stupid. Now that doesn't mean what they said was wrong. It means that the ones who were stupid, they didn't get their words in the words of the sages.
Right.
And have not sought the Lord. Therefore they have not prospered, and all their flock is scattered. Jeremiah 23, woe to the shepherds who are causing the sheep of my pasture to perish and are scattering them. They're literally scattering the sheep. Concerning the shepherds tending my people. You scattered my flock. You've driven them away. I'm going to call you to account. Then I myself will, what does it say? I myself will gather the remnant. What does that mean? I was sent only to the lost, what? It didn't switch. I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. That's just another verse that he's quoting the same thing. I myself will gather, I'll seek them out and gather the remnant of my flock out of all the countries where I drove them. I will raise up shepherds over them, and they will tend them, and they won't be afraid, nor will any be missing. And then Jeremiah 25, those put to death by the Lord in that day, in the day of the Lord, will be from one end of the earth to the other, not mourned, not gathered, not buried, but like dung on the ground. Wail, you shepherds. When are they wailing? In the day of the Lord. So there's evil shepherds in the day of the Lord. Do you know how many? Any guesses as to how many?
4.
4? 11?
No, a lot.
Oh, a lot?
Many, yeah.
Eileen, do you know? No?
666.
7 or 8. It literally says that.
7 or 8.
It says, woe to the evil shepherds. I will raise up 7 shepherds and 8 principal men over them in that day.
Oh, okay.
Different prophecy. All right. So he says there's going to be evil shepherds in the birth pangs, wallow in the dust, masters of the flock. That's a trip. Masters of the flock. And who's the flock? Israel. Now, this is a trippy verse, and most people don't know it. Zechariah 11:17. Woe to the worthless shepherd, singular, who abandons the flock, and we know who the flock is. A sword will be on his arm, and on his right eye. His arm will be totally withered, and his right eye will be blind. The reason I have this is just to show you, every word here is singular. It's not shepherds. It's not eyes, arms. It's one guy, the worthless shepherd. We're going to come back to that. Ezekiel 34 is all about the bad shepherds. The whole chapter. I've only got one little tiny part of it here. We'll skip through it. But look what's emboldened. Woe, shepherds of Israel who have been feeding themselves. So this whole chapter is about the evil shepherds. From my flock strayed over all the mountains and over every high hill. My flock was scattered over all the earth, and none to search or seek. So therefore, what's God going to do? Search and seek. I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. I am against the shepherds. I will demand my sheep from them. I will save my sheep from their mouth. Behold, I myself, here's another one. I will search for my sheep and look after them. I was wrong. It's more than 5 verses that he's quoting where it says, I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. As a shepherd cares for his flock, so I will rescue them from all the places they've been scattered. Okay. Now, this passage in Micah is again what Yeshua's quoting in John, I think it's chapter 10. Yeah, chapter 10. He tells this long parable in John chapter 10 that most Christians are familiar with about the shepherd, the good shepherd. Adonai ataroi. The Lord, he is my shepherd. So it's talking about God. It's not talking about Christ coming to save the world. It's talking about God, and it's quoting all those verses that we just looked at least, and more of them. We looked at least a part of it in Ezekiel 34 and Jeremiah 30 and other passages where it describes that God gave all these shepherds to Israel, and they were bad. A lot of them were bad, and they don't misunderstand me. These did not become the sages and rabbis. These were the bad ones who the Jews kicked out. Or they tried to kick out and they weren't able to. But their words certainly were not saved as words of the sages and rabbis. But Yeshua comes along in John 10 and quotes all these passages about the sheep and the shepherd. And this, now we're going to talk about the real point I want to make. Hearing the voice of the shepherd. Hearing the voice of the shepherd. So, Micah 2, 12 through 13 says, I will assemble all of you. What? I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. I will assemble all of you, Jacob. I will certainly gather the remnant of Israel, and I'll put them together like sheep in a fold. Now, this is a really cool picture. This is an actual sheepfold. This part back here, this is the door of the sheepfold, and it's made out of stone, obviously, and all these sheep are going into the sheepfold. But the question is, how do they get in there? How does it work that the shepherd is able to get all these sheep to go into that sheepfold? And this passage is talking about it. I will put them together like sheep in the fold, a flock in the midst of its pasture. They will be noisy with people. And that is a really, really interesting thing. that there's a lot of sound when the sheep are going in. They're bleating and they're yelling and they're happy, and some of them are angry and they're pushing and they're shoving, and some are just happy and they're skipping along, and so it's a lot of noise. Why? Because there's a lot of people. The sheep are people. They're Jews. So it's a picture of God bringing all the Jews from all the nations and bringing them to where? His sheepfold. Well, now where's his sheepfold? If he's bringing all the Jews back from the exile, where are we going? Israel. That's the sheepfold. That's the sheepfold. That is, I'm not going to do it. I was going to go all the way back and show that camp again. All it is an expansion of the camp. Okay?
Yeah, he calls them by name and they know his voice.
Yes. So he says, it'll be noisy with men. Noisy with men. The pedets, that means the one who breaks through. What's he breaking through?
The doorway.
Right, the doorway. So it's talking about the shepherd who removes the stones from the doorway so they can get through. The pedets goes up in front of them. They break through. It doesn't mean they're breaking down the wall. It means they're popping through the hole, the door. They pass through the gate. They go out by it. So they're going in, they're going out. So their king passes on before them, the Lord at their head. So who's the one who opens the door? The Lord. And what's the pen? Israel. And who are the sheep?
Israel.
Israel. Jews. Okay, now, John 10. I'm going to try to get to hone down to the point I'm trying to make. Truly I say to you, the one who doesn't enter by the door into the fold of the sheep. What's the sheepfold? Israel. The one who tries to get into the camp of Israel, but he doesn't try to get in through the door. How can a sheep get in not through the door?
Jump over the fence.
Either that or somebody's carrying the sheep and just throws them over.
Yeah.
I want my sheep in there. Now, bad shepherds would do this all the time. All the time. Because they don't want to have to stay there at the sheep pen and watch these dirty critters. They want to go to the pub and get drunk. And so what do? They throw their sheep in with the Jews and say, here, shepherd, you take care of mine too. And this happened all the time. There's also a couple scriptures about it with David. David gets really, really mad at Nabal because, David's been out there watching not just his sheep, but all of Nabal's sheep and everybody else's sheep that comes and dumps them off like a school bus and just dumps the kids off. All right? So this is a big thing with shepherds, that they end up taking care of other people's sheep because they want to go knock off and get drunk or whatever. And that's what he's talking about here. The one who doesn't enter by the door. And who went through the door first? The shepherd. Remember, he led them. He opened up the door and he led them in, and then they all go in. The one who doesn't enter by the door into the fold of the sheep, that means into the covenant, into the congregation, into the community, into the camp of Israel, but climbs up some other way. Really? A sheep is going to climb up? Sheep don't climb. Goats do, but sheep don't. So it's obviously talking about this problem of, if the wall is real low, sheep might be able to get over it. But it ain't talking about the sheep. It's talking about the shepherd, the bad shepherd, who wants his sheep in there. So somebody else will take care of them. And I don't have to do my job. But climbs up some other way, another derech, another religion. He's a thief. He's a robber. What's he robbing? What's he stealing?
The space for the blessing.
Say that again.
A space for a Jew?
Very good. That pen is for the Jews.
Yeah.
And you think you're going to steal my space for the Jews that I'm taking care of? Get that sheep out of here. Yeah. So he's a thief. He's a robber. He's stealing the time of the shepherd and the space of the Jews. But the one who enters by the door through Judaism, through the covenant, is a shepherd of the sheep. To him, the doorkeeper opens, and the sheep, Israel, listen to his voice, and he calls his own sheep by name. All right, so what name?
Israel.
Israel. What else?
Judah.
Judah. What else?
All the tribes.
Like?
Issachar.
Issachar. What else?
Zebulun, Dan.
Zebulun. Look, there it is. There's the names.
Yeah.
The 12 tribes. That's what he's referring to. He's not referring to, I call you by your name. You are so precious unto me, Christians. It's not. It's talking about Israel and the 12 tribes in the camp. That's what the pen is. And the sheep listen to his voice, and he calls his own sheep by name, by tribe, and leads them out. Now they're being led out of the pen. When he brings his out, he leads them. And the sheep follow him because they know his voice. And here's where, wow, there's going to be a huge split.
Yeah.
They know his voice. However, a stranger, a ger, right? Remember stranger, ger, like Abraham said, I'm a stranger, I'm a ger among you. It means a Gentile. However, a Gentile, they simply will not follow, but will flee from him because they don't know the voice of that Gentile, of that stranger.
They don't know the Torah he's speaking.
So I've been asked, boy, if I don't even know if I could effectively add up all the times I've been asked by Christians, why don't Jews believe in Christ?
He's a stranger.
He's a stranger.
Do you want a list?
He's a stranger. We don't know his voice. And we're not supposed to know his voice. And this is the trick. We're not supposed to know his voice. Yes, but he's the Lord. Not the way he's been portrayed and what he's been turned into, he's not. And if you don't know what he's quoting when he speaks, like John 10, quoting Micah 2 and Ezekiel 34, etc., if you don't know what he's quoting, you don't know what he's saying. Well, the Jews, they know what he's saying. They know the Tanakh. And so they hear this voice of this syrupy, sweet, good shepherd who's your shepherd. Christians, I'm your shepherd. And they hear this and they're revolted by it. And you may not want to hear this, but it is revolting to us Jews to see a Messiah painted like your culture as a Gentile, like what you're used to, like where you come from, which is paganism and idolatry. And we don't hear the voice of the idol. We can't hear it. We're revolted by it. But that's what Yeshua has been turned into. Has been turned into an idol. Into an idol. Yes?
I have a question. In Micah, where it talks about the pedets, the
Breaker.
yeah. Could that also be kind of like synonymous with how in the New Testament where the Sebamoy could come in because the wall of
Thank you. That's exactly what it is. It's in Ephesians chapter 2. In Ephesians chapter 2, I almost had that on here, but I was like, nah, it's going to be too long. So I'll bring it up. Ephesians chapter 2, it says that Yeshua broke down what Christians falsely say is a middle wall of partition. It does not say that. It says he broke down the wall of separation to invite those who are far away and those who are near to come to whatever is behind that wall. So those who are far away, we know, are Gentiles. It finds that many times in the Torah, that the Gentiles are far away. And the Jews are near. They're karav, close to him. And God says, I want you close to me, Israel. Karav lecha. I want you to be close to me. Korev lani, close to me. So that's the Jews. The Gentiles are far away, the Jews are close, and he breaks down the wall of separation to invite both into. Well, where's a wall of separation in all of Judaism? Where is there a wall, one wall of separation? What's the wall? Where is the wall?
The temple?
Where? There's lots of walls in the temple. Which one?
The Holy of Holies.
Okay. Not the outer court. The outer court is not, this got lots and lots of walls, but the outer court, the Gentiles are allowed in the outer court.
Well, isn't it like in between the outer and the inner court?
Yes, it's in between the outer court, Solomon's court, the outer court, and it's called the Azarah. The Azarah is the lifted up platform that's the temple compound. And around that Azarah was a low wall, about 4 feet tall, and then it had like lattice work sort of on top of that, 4 foot tall wall to make it about 6 feet tall, called soreg. God never said to put soreg, never. And so that's what Yeshua is referring to as being knocked down. Well, if he broke down soreg, where are people going? Are they going away from the temple or toward the temple? So if you break down soreg, it has instant access for both Gentile and Jew to what? The temple. And that's what he's referring to. That he's the Peretz who knocked down the wall, or at least an opening in the wall, so that those who are far away and those who are near. Now we're going to come across that again in a little bit. But I want to go back to the last thing I said, if I can remember. A stranger, they simply will not follow, but will flee from him. You want to know why Jews will never believe in Christ? Never. Because we flee from him. He's revolting to us. He has nothing to do with the Jewish Messiah. Nothing. We're about to come to Christmas. Tell me that's Jewish.
No.
Tell me Christmas has anything to do with anything biblical. You know very well it doesn't. And for you to lie to yourself and lie to your children and whoever else and say, well, you know, we do it to honor. No, you don't. It's a lie. That is an absolute lie. You can't just make up, you know, festivals or whatever and say, I'm saying it for God. Because there will be a price to pay. There will. All right. So he says, however, a stranger simply will not follow, but will flee from him because they don't know the voice of that ger, that stranger, that Gentile. The Jewish Messiah has been turned into, literally turned into, an idol. It has no mouth, it has no eyes, it has no nose, it has no hands. I mean, it may have those things, but they certainly don't work and they don't function. It can't speak. It can't do anything. It's been turned into an idol. That's what the Good Shepherd has become in people's minds. That is one good-looking man. Isn't it? Look at that beautiful hair.
Great God.
Look at that beautiful hair.
Not to me.
Look at that. It's beautiful. You wish you had hair like that.
I saw a guy in Israel that looked like that.
It doesn't surprise me.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. That's the epitome of Hellenism. The scriptures are extremely clear about hair. The Jews aren't allowed to have long hair ever for any reason unless they're on a Nazirite vow. So, but this is what the shepherd has been turned into. Now, what words is that shepherd going to speak? Is it going to be from the good shepherd or from the wicked shepherd? All right, so we're going to come back to that. John 10, 3 through 5. The sheep, Israel, listened to his voice, just like Abraham did in Genesis 26:5. What does it say in Genesis 26:5? I will give you this land because your father, Abraham, did Judaism. Yeah, let's keep it simple. Thank you. Did Judaism because your father heard my voice and did Judaism. The sheep follow him because they know his voice. However, a stranger, a ger, a Gentile, idolatry. Now, I really want to hone in on this. This idolatry, and that's what it is. You know, I should have gotten a picture of like the one that's not so offensive to like born again Christians. The good looking dude it was done in 1950 something. He's real good looking. He looks like in a photography studio, and he's got beautiful hair. He's a good looking hippie. And I should have put that one too, because this born again Christians will say, oh yeah, that's the Catholic one. That's an idol. But not ours. Oh, yes, yours. The show The Chosen?
Yes.
That's the same idol.
Yep.
They've turned him into the same exact idol. So, we don't know that guy's voice. Because it's Avodah Zarah.
Cut that picture there.
That's the opposite of what I want. The Avodah Zarah means service of a strange service, service of the stranger. Or idolatry. And there's a whole tractate in the Talmud and the Mishnah about Avodah Zarah. And we won't follow, but we'll flee from him. I don't know if I'm communicating what I want to communicate. We're supposed to flee from him. Yesterday at work, they started planning the Christmas party. And so, and I was just going to be cool and just keep my mouth shut and just, wait till they were done and go about my business. And instead, they go, oh, let's make a ham. And I went,
Of course.
oh, come on. Like that, like I have some authority to say anything. But I did. I went, God, ugh. That's what I did. I went, ugh, come on. And when I said, ugh, 4 of them got in an uproar. Oh, come on, Washer, get off that. And the guy who was leading the meeting goes, let us have our idolatry. And I was like, now you I respect.
Right?
Because he's being honest. He's being honest. These other fools, and they are fools for doing this, are trying to somehow say, let's break the Torah and say we're applying that to worshiping our Lord. It's just so disingenuous, and it disgusts me. So I acted disgusted, and I went, ugh. And it really offended him and bothered him. I was like, I don't care. I don't care how you feel about it. I do not care. You're wrong in what you're doing. So, we will flee from him. We're supposed to flee from him. We're supposed to flee from the Hellenized Christ. Because they don't know the voice of strangers. Israel doesn't even know the voice of this dude, this fool. We don't know the voice of this fool, this idol. It's worse than that. It's worse than he's a fool. He is the wicked shepherd. So my question is, and I'm going to talk more about it. I'm not just going to say it. I'm going I'm going to talk more about it. Do you have respect for the voice of the ger? I think it's a fair question. Do we have respect for the voice of the ger, of the stranger? What do you think? Do you have respect for the voice of the stranger?
Okay, that there, no.
Well, that's the only ger there is that he's talking about.
Okay,
The wicked shepherd.
then no.
Okay. The Hellenized Christ. Do you respect the Hellenized Christ? Do you respect him? This is when things really become real. And remember, we're moving toward Hanukkah. That's why this is important, because at Hanukkah, we really crystallize the fight between Judaism and Hellenism. That's when it kind of comes to a head. So my question is, do you have respect for Christ?
No.
Do you know that voice? Do you know the voice of Christ? Or do you know the Jewish voice? Do you know the difference, like the sharp difference between the two? It takes a long time to learn it. It takes a long time to stop. I know it's going to sound horrible. It's going to take a long time to stop respecting Christ, because he doesn't deserve respect. He's an idol. He's not real.
Right.
He's imaginary. They invented it.
Yep.
Okay, now, check this out. You see the red and the blue? There's a verse that says God's going to raise up one good shepherd, and there's a verse that says he's going to raise up one bad shepherd. One bad shepherd. Zechariah 11, the Lord said, take for yourself the tools of a foolish shepherd, and I don't have a clue what that means. I mean, like with the tools of the tools of a shepherd is a pouch and a rod and a staff and maybe a bow and arrow and a spear and oil and wine and some other things. So they have tools, but what's the difference between the tools of a good shepherd and the tools of a foolish shepherd? I don't know. But obviously there's a difference. Take for yourself the tools of a foolish shepherd, for behold, here's why, I am going to raise up one shepherd in the land who will not care for the perishing, seek the scattered, heal the broken, but will eat up the fat sheep and tear off their hooves. That is exactly what the shepherd has done. It's called Hellenism. The evil shepherd, one evil shepherd, is crystallized in Hellenism. And it has not cared for the perishing of the Jews, has not sought the scattered of the Jews, has not healed the broken of the Jews. In fact, it has broken the Jews, but will devour the fat sheep. That's Jews. Devour, eat them up, and rip off their hooves so they can't walk. And that's exactly what Hellenism has done. What are some things that show that we're walking with God? What is our walk? Give me some things that show our walk with God. Shabbat. Festivals. New moon. And kosher laws. Those are the four basics. Kosher law, the food and drink, Sabbath, new moon, festivals. Yes? Those are the basics. If you tear the hooves off a sheep, they can't walk. They got to sit around until they heal. And that's what Hellenism has done. Well, who did that? Who said you are not allowed to keep kosher?
The Greeks.
Yeah, but who? Like one guy. Antiochus Epiphanes. The Syrian Greek king, Antiochus Epiphanes, who was the false Messiah.
Yep.
He said, you're not allowed to keep kosher. You're not allowed to circumcise. You're not allowed to keep the new moon. You're not allowed to keep the festivals. I'm going to rip your hooves off. And then says, I am the good shepherd.
Right.
And this is what he looked like. At least on his idol. He didn't really look like that. He looked like a normal guy. But on his idol, that's what he looked like. All right, Ezekiel 34. Then I will appoint over them, over Israel, one shepherd, my servant David. Isn't that a trip? That in the day of the Lord, and you can read the passage for yourself in Ezekiel 34, it says in that day like 5 times. And it's in that day, in the day of the Lord, God's going to raise up one good shepherd, and he ain't called Christ. He's David, King David. And it really is the Messiah. He will feed them himself and be their shepherd. Okay. Look at how it ends. No longer plunder to the Gentiles. So there's a good shepherd, an Israeli-looking guy, and this fool.
Be the fool.
What's pity the fool? What's the most recognizable constellation in the sky?
Probably the Big Dipper.
Nah, there's one that's Orion. More. What's it called? Cultures. It's so weird. Every culture calls Orion the hunter.
Really?
Every one of them. And it's the most identifiable one. The Big Dipper, which is very identifiable for our culture, but it's not in other cultures. They call it other stuff. They call it a bear, they call it a wagon, they call it all kinds of stuff. But every culture calls Orion a hunter, all right? Except the Jews. Guess what we call it?
Shepherd.
And guess what month it lands in? It's not the head over. It's not the head over this month, but it falls in this month, in the ecliptic, right along the ecliptic or next to the ecliptic. It's a major one for this month, Kislev.
Wow.
And we call Orion, what'd you say?
Casil?
Kesil, the fool.
Oh.
And all the other cultures think it's well, that's weird. Think it's the Messiah. They think it's the Messiah. He is our mighty hunter. He's our mighty warrior. He is the Messiah. We call him a fool.
Why?
Because he's a fool. He's the wicked hunter. Do Jews hunt?
No.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
There's no hunting. It's Esav. It's Esav. He's the fool. So we have the foolish shepherd. We have the good shepherd. All right, let's just review the 4 Malchuyot, the 4 exiles. Babylon is, and this is from Daniel chapter 4. Chapter 4?
7.
7, thank you. I just zoomed out. Okay, Daniel chapter 7. Sorry about that. Babylon is shown like as a lion with eagle's wings. Medo-Persia like a bear with 3 ribs in its mouth. Greece is shown as a leopard. And Rome has no name. It just looks like a monster with iron teeth and bronze claws. What's bronze? What's bronze?
Oh, yeah.
You stopped paying attention. All right, back to Daniel chapter 2, right? Daniel chapter 2, Nebuchadnezzar sees that giant statue with a head of gold. Who's that? Who's the head of gold?
Babylon?
Babylon. Come on, wake up.
Babylon?
The head of gold is Babylon. The chest and arms of silver is Medo-Persia. The loins is Greece, and that's bronze. And then the legs of iron.
And clay.
Well, that's the feet, the toes are iron and clay, but the legs are iron, solid iron. What is bronze?
Greece.
Do you remember when we first looked at Zechariah about the 4 Malchuyot?
Yeah.
4 chariots came through what?
The 2 mountains.
2 mountains of bronze. And they're strong. And one is the east and one is the west. And they're just squashing. Like that's how you make nuclear fission. You squash it from all sides all at once, and but you have to squash it first.
Like Like between the straits.
Right, between the straits, exactly. And that's what those mountains of bronze are. They're Hellenism. They're Hellenism. And they are the ultimate power source of all the evil powers that have been. Revelation 13 says it. The dragon stood on the sand of the seashore. Then I saw a beast coming up out of the sea, having 10 horns. That's Rome. And the beast that I saw was like a leopard. And who's a leopard?
Greece.
Greece. It's Hellenism. That is the power source, the beast, the wicked shepherd. So everybody wants to know, who's the beast? Who's the beast? Now you have an answer. We saw it last week. Who's the beast?
Greece. Hellenism?
Greece, Hellenism.
But is it, well, the last beast isn't it kind of like a combination of all of them?
He says here,
No? Okay.
what does he say?
The beast I
Oh,
saw,
that
which
was
I
like
saw
a
was like a leopard.
He says, yeah, I mean, it's like a leopard. The beast itself is like a leopard. Now, it has other attributes of the others, but it itself is like a leopard, like Greece. Then it's got other junk tacked on, I guess, you know, like a Mr. Potato Head. But the thing itself is
It's Greece.
a leopard. That is the power source. All right, Yeshua told them a parable, a picture. Oh, look, Eileen. I forgot I had the. Yeshua,
okay.
Yeshua told them the parable or the picture, but they didn't understand it. So he said to them this, I tell you the truth, I am the door of the sheep, Israel, the opening through which the sheep go. Not the world going in through Christ. Israel going into their own pen through the Messiah. Yes?
Yes.
That's very different. I am the door of the sheep. The sheep are Israel. All those who came before me, well, who came before him? Are thieves and robbers. But the sheep wouldn't listen to him.
The strangers.
Yeah, but who? He says all those who came before me. Who's he talking about?
Babylon, Medo-Persia.
There you go. Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome. How about Edom? Esav.
Yeah.
How about Ahashverosh? Ahashverosh.
Right.
What's the Haman and Nebuchadnezzar and Sennacherib and all the bad guys. And the Jews wouldn't listen to him. Why? Because we can't hear their voice. It's idolatry. I am the door. If one enters through me, but who's entering? Who's entering?
Israel.
Israel, not the world. But the way this parable's been told is like Yeshua inviting the world to come through him. No. He is the way that Israel passes through into that camp. I am the door. If one enters through me, he'll be saved. Yesha. The thief comes to steal, to kill, to destroy who?
Israel.
Israel. I came so that they, Israel, would have life greatly. And he says, I am Haroe Tov. I have it in blue. Why do I have it in blue?
He's quoting.
He's quoting, where'd it go? Ezekiel 34. I will raise over them one shepherd, the good shepherds, David.
Right.
So that's why I have it in blue. I am Roe Tov, the good shepherd, one who is not the owner of the Jews. Oh, one who's not the owner of the Jews. Who's that?
False shepherd.
Bad shepherd.
The one bad shepherd. That's why he says one. One who is not the owner of the Jews sees the wolf coming and doesn't care about the sheep, Israel. I am Haroe Tov, and I know my own, the Jews, and my own know me. Now look at this. I have other sheep that aren't of this fold. Who's that?
The Gentiles.
The Gentiles.
Among themselves.
The Gentiles who get to be invited into the Jewish camp.
They want to be part of that flock.
That want to be part of that flock, right. I must bring them too. And they'll hear my voice, and they'll become one flock. Not Israel coming out of the camp and then like joining to some other dude's pen because they're Christians and they have Christ.
No.
Just the other way around. Gentiles must come into the Jewish camp.
The only way in.
And that's what Yeshua said in Ephesians 2. I wish I'd have thought that I remembered that I had this picture here.
Like the grafting.
It is like, it's exactly like grafting in. Gentiles are grafting into what?
The olive tree.
What olive tree?
The native one.
Yeah.
Which is what?
Israel.
Israel, the Jewish olive tree. It has Jewish roots, Jewish trunk, Jewish branches, Jewish leaves, and Jewish fruit. And God takes a wild olive and grafts it in against nature. Against nature. Totally against the grain. Against what should happen. Takes Gentiles and grafts them into a Jewish tree. And I must bring them also, and they will listen to my voice. Really? Christians have listened to the voice of
He's not talking about
the Mashiach? Huh?
He's not talking about Christians. They don't want part of Israel. They want their own false Messiah.
Okay, so we got a problem.
It's not about actual real believers.
All right, so we got a problem. During the time of Rome, during the time of Edom, there have been a smattering of Gentiles who could hear his voice.
Right.
There was no structure at all. None. This is what existed for believers, for Christians, for call them what you want. This is what existed. And so they're like, oh, I see the Messiah, and he's in the Jewish world, and I'm going to get born again. So what happens to them? They're immediately plugged into this. It's a problem, and this has been going on for 2,000 years. Doesn't mean that their spirit's not alive. It just means, and I always say this phrase, and it still offends people, and I don't know why, it just means they're dumb as rocks. They don't know anything. They're ignorant. They're dumb. Doesn't mean their spirit isn't alive. It just means they're ignorant. Just like we were ignorant of so many things. I was dumb as a rock. I didn't know anything. And as you learn, if you don't learn in a Jewish camp, all you can learn is the alternative, which is this.
That's supposed to be a church?
It's all the Greek stuff.
Oh,
Churches and whatever. All the judgment, Jewish, Christian, Roman places of judgment, where they get their laws and how they live their life and where do they go to church and the whole thing. Their whole life. All there is Hellenism. So that tells us, and please don't get lost, that tells us something really, really important. Is he talking about the last 2,000 years? Because he says that these Gentiles will hear his voice. Have they? I'd say 97% of the time, no.
so some are coming back.
Yes, but I'm talking about the last 2,000 years.
Oh, okay.
So is he talking about the last 2,000 years?
No, he's talking about in the future, will.
Exactly. He's talking about the future, that they will hear his voice. The Gentiles will listen to my voice. They will. And they will become one flock, one Jewish flock. God is going to bring Gentiles into Judaism with one shepherd. Now, how do we know he's talking about the future? Because all the chapters and verses about the good shepherd and about the sheep and about God restoring the flock, where are they?
The kingdom.
In the kingdom, in the day of the Lord.
We're kings.
Yeah. So don't get shaken and go, Christians don't know God. They're garbage. They're trash. Because it's easy to go there. They're trash just like everybody else. Just like everybody else. It's easy to go there. It is. Because for the last 2,000 years, what percentage actually heard the voice of the Jewish Messiah?
Very small.
Very small. But the people who did hear the voice, and do nowadays, hear the voice of the Jewish Messiah, what format do they have to actually live a Jewish life? They're told every day of their life, you can't. Christ did away with the law.
Well, they have to come out of that system like I did.
Yes, but even if they come out of that system, then how do they learn what's proper? And that's a whole problem. You know, God has to lead them.
Well, it's a learning process.
Yes, but we got to have compassion on the fact that this is all there's been. Do you know that Messianic Judaism started called, what was it called? Hebrew Christians. Hebrew Christians. It was called the Union of Hebrew Christians, I think it was, in the 1800s. Yeah. Hebrew Christians. And they're Messianic Jews. Why? Because this is all there was. Now things are starting to slowly change where there is more Jewish knowledge. We can go, and by the way, I don't say this enough, you need to learn how to study on a site called Sepharia. S-E-P-H-A-R-I-A, Sepharia. It has all the words of the sages. It has all the Jewish books collected.
SEF.
S-E-F, sorry, S-E-F-A-R-I-A, Sepharia.
The phone app also.
It's also a phone app. So why is this important? Because
It's Judaism.
it is all the collected writings of the Jews. But the problem is, if you type in something on the search, you don't know what to type in. It's a problem, because Judaism is a different language. We don't think like the Hellenized system that has produced all these lists of words you're supposed to search by. We have a different set of words. We don't type in tribulation.
No.
We type in birth pangs. There's no such thing as rapture. What do we type in? Resurrection. And it's a different language, and you have to learn it. And you have to start from ground zero, because you got to realize this is where you're coming from. And this is the voice of this evil shepherd. This is the one evil shepherd. It's his voice. And to come away from it, it's a process that starts with stop respecting it. I mean, if you respect fools, you're a fool. I mean, just like in your life, if you respect fools, you're a fool. You don't respect the voice of the fool. You rebuke the voice of the fool. But are you really willing to rebuke the voice of Jesus Christ? Because that's what you've been told over and over and over, and it's hard to do. I'm going to end with this one last stupid story. It's just so dumb. It's dumb because I was dumb. So back in, I want to say 2000, maybe 2000, I got invited to be on TV in Midland on a Christian TV station. Now, my boy, Joe Good, the one who taught me how to think like a Jew and to study like a Jew, he's a Gentile, got on this station, and he did fine. But he did fine because he was raised Gentile. He was raised Christian. So he knows the lingo, and he knows the feelings, and he knows the thoughts. He knew the thoughts of Christians, and so he would never cross over any kind of boundaries that have been set up from Hellenism for 2,000 years. I don't know those boundaries. I've never known those boundaries, ever. I wasn't raised in it, wasn't educated in it, never went to Bible college or anything Christian. So I had already written the book Pictures, and that's what they invited me to come talk about. It was my pictures book, not the big one, the small one, just pictures. So I get on there, and after we'd gone into it about, 12 minutes maybe, I get the book and I open up to the page that has the picture of Yeshua on one side, and on the other side is the Kasil, the fool. The fool. And I look at it and I hold it up and they zoom in on it so everybody can see it. And I go, really, if you think about it, it all comes down to this. And I go, I can't even do it with a straight face anymore. I go, I love Messiah and I hate Christ. And I'm thinking, I've laid enough foundation for them to understand what I'm saying. And of course not. I could talk for 1,000 years and that ain't going to happen. And I'm thinking, oh, isn't that great? Isn't that good? Because it is good. It's great to have no respect for the voice of the fool, of the evil shepherd. It's just such a liberating thing. But when you've been bound for so long to that voice, to that idol, to have somebody come and say, I hate that guy, that fool, that's really, really offensive. And so I became persona non grata, which means, well, I found this out later. I said, hey, there was a guy who got me the gig, on TV. I said, hey, why don't you call them back and see if they'll have me back on? And he says, I called and they said that you are persona non grata. What does that mean? You don't exist. You're not even a person to them. But it's true. And no amount of crying about it is going to change the fact that this is idolatry, pure and simple. And we got to uproot that voice from us, and the only way to do it is stop respecting it. Stop respecting, quote, Jesus Christ. But then you have to educate yourself on the real voice of the shepherd, which is Judaism. So these two things have to grow together. Your hatred and revulsion for idolatry and your love and your embracing of Judaism and doing Judaism and listening to its voice. And that's the voice of the good shepherd and the bad shepherd. Shabbat shalom.